that was passed by Cabinet in 2019, yes. April, 1st of April 2019. And through this, the tracking now concentrates on the key aspects of the policy, one of which is the aspect of the professionalization and the standardization of the teaching process and the teacher himself. Two, it is looking out for a council that is going to harmonize the operations, the recruitment, the licensing, the registration of a teacher, and ensuring it also deals with the ethical issues of the teacher's professionalism. Yes. Then it also looks at the National Institute of Teacher Education, that is through which the former PTCs and NTCs were phased. Yeah. So those are some of the aspects which are really brought on board in the operationalization system, so that the Parliament is able to, through the relevant committees, to endorse. But as we move on with this, of course I want the public to know that as teachers, as educationists, as proprietors and organized associations, we are in support of the National Teachers Policy, because it is ideal for the growth of the sector and of course perfecting it from where it has been. Nevertheless, there are some advantages, there are also some challenges we are seeing through this proposed bill that we think must be checked. For example, if we are to start with the effects of the Teacher Institute that was supposed to be established, we all know that we are running a scarcity of teachers at all levels, a serious scarcity. And we have been speaking to the Minister of Education even as of last week to look out for this, which needs to be operationalized. That's true. The phasing of the NTCs and PTCs created a vacuum, and we did not see any reason why they had to phase before they started to operationalize the different dockets of the National Teachers Policies, because we all knew that it had to take a due course in order to be effected as a policy, a National Teachers Policy. But now to close and people starve, there is no generation of teachers we are receiving today, so we are in a very big problem. We think as we are moving on, we need to operationalize the National Teacher Institute, so that that kind of federation that is that phased the other, and it is transforming them into universities that are going to award degrees to allow the programs keep on roaring, to avoid suffocation of the industries, of the industry. Two, we are looking at this council. The council is very paramount as far as all this is concerned. But we are skeptical, first of all, of the composition of the council. Two, we are skeptical of the system of work of the council. The council is not decentralized. It is concentrated at a certain point, which is a national point, and yet it is handling teachers all over the country. Now, we don't see a decentralized system that is going to handle teachers' issues of license, registration, discipline, and all of that being managed at the epitome, at the national level. The bill seems to be silent on that. We see a challenge that is going to create a lot of redundancy in the teachers. Teachers are not moving out because they don't have licenses and all that kind of thing, because of lack of a decentralized system. Two, in the composition, we see that they are bringing many people on board unnecessarily. For example, we have the lawyers being part of the composition, and you never see teachers being part of the lawyers' council. You never see teachers being part of the midwives, the medical fraternity council. Then why are you bringing non-members on a council which is supposed to deal with education matters? We see a lot of challenges. The composition in the council itself, we see the appointments in the council also not proper. At one moment, we are seeing that within the council, the members of the council will elect among themselves the vice chairperson, which is not auguring well. This is a national duty where appointments must be through capacity.
Yes.
Yes, through capacity. But when you say it is the fellow members to elect a vice who is going to do a national duty, and then you say also the members are going to be appointed by the minister, then it becomes a political appointment. Yeah. Okay? We want people to, these are jobs which must be announced,
exactly.
Procedures taken, competent people are recruited, and they do the national work. But when we talk of appointment by the minister, we don't know which minister, state, the minister. Now, it jeopardizes the whole essence of this big council and how it is going to manage. People are going to do work on political grounds, but not ethically as it is supposed to be done. We are also looking at the issue of the licensing of the teachers.
Yes. I understand that teachers have to first go through an internship program.
Exactly.
To actually even get a license.
There is an internship program. We have always had school practice.
Yes.
Internship would be a good development for proper strengthening. But the challenge now is restricting it to government schools, which we know are very few. To the system of surveillancing it, to see how supervising it is also not clear. When you write it on to the Ministry of Education, we don't know how far the ministry can reach, how many people it has, employees who are going to be distributed all over to check on these interns in a few government schools. Now, for example, here in Kampala, we have over 3,500 private schools. The government has 27. Now, if you you conceptualize all this and you constrain people to only government schools, we see there is a big problem you are creating. There will be competition, still what you need for classes, and it might also affect the performance of schools, because these are interns, they are new in the system. The old ones have to roll them on. Now, we think that this also has to be looked at. We only need to put up a clear mechanism that tracks the teachers through their institutions to supervise their programs within the schools, but not the ministry, which we know cannot manage that task. And when you say the head teacher is going to supervise, the head teacher has a lot of things. He can give you a report, but the report cannot be genuine. Now, we look at this teacher who is going to get a license and pay for it, 150 every after 4 years. The same teacher who pays pay as you earn, the same teacher who pays local service on a meager salary. How does this happen really? Someone is earning 200, and from 200 he has to meet the tax obligations. He had to meet all these licenses which they are bringing on board. We see it as a discouragement of people from a profession which is low paying. And also we are looking at the issue of the 4 years. The 4 years and the degree. The enumeration for a degree holder versus the capacity of the schools employing to meet the enumeration requirement. Then two, we are looking at a cycle of 4 years. Does it apply at all levels? Because it is now meant to apply to all levels. Talk about a nursery teacher with a degree, going through 4 years. Talk about a primary, a secondary, even a lecturer, going through the same duration.
That's true.
We see people running away from the sector, going for more paying courses than being a nursery teacher. You are going to teach kids different content from that one of a lecturer, from that one of secondary. You are sentenced to 4 years. You are subjected to senior 6. The moment someone goes through this cycle of senior 6, he will not opt for a teaching job of a salary equivalent to 200 or 300. The moment he performs well, he will aim at a bigger job, of course, which has the same course duration, and leave out all this one about the teaching profession.
Yeah, so I'd like to ask, what ways do you think the proposed bill could improve the overall quality of the professionalism?
I think,
teaching?
first of all, for every job, it takes a discipline. Discipline is very important. If there are no mechanism to make sure there's discipline in every profession, you will lose the point.
That's true.
Two, the profession conduct and ethics of a teacher do a lot in building and molding a generation.
Yes.
The way you do your things, the way you manage it, the picture you portray, how you conduct yourself. Today you find a teacher comes in a class, dressed in a vest, dressed in a short, is on the blackboard. A teacher is supposed to start a lesson at a particular time. It does not flow with the timetable, does not flow with the routine. All of these processes, they impede on the teaching learning process. What you are supposed to do as a teacher, when we say profession, we expect a code of conduct in you that is supposed to mold a particular group of people into any profession they are aiming at. Now, when we look at that, we also look at the curriculum. The curriculum, in standardization, we also look at the curriculum. The way people manage it, the way they go by it, the way they plant it, the way they impart it. Now, through this system, the system is standardizing the curriculum. The system is standardizing profession, ethics of a teacher. You know, we have had issues of teacher-student falling in a relationship. That is also a profession. Now, we have seen unqualified teachers. However, it varies from one place to another. There are areas, for example, Karamoja, where you Uganda it is difficult for you to get a professional teacher. But how do we mentor and orient these people into the system to support, to give at least timely support, interventions, to allow learners in that part of the country to continue learning as the system is recruiting the competent people. So all of these issues are now within the docket of the program of standardizing. When we talk of the standardization, we are also looking at the mechanism of assessing
the competence tests.
The competence tests. We are looking at the continuous professional development, what we call CPD aspect, which is a very good innovation as far as this bill is concerned. Comparing all teachers, whether private or government, to go for continuous professional development is ideal. Today, when you look at the previous year's poor performance in primary, it is, even when you go to government schools, I don't remember when primary teachers in the government schools go for CPDs. It does not happen. And now someone who went through the system 30 years back, up to today, things have changed. We are talking about new curriculum. We are talking about this now. All this is what is being standardized to meet that level that can produce a whole some person, transformed person.
Okay, but even with the standardization of that, do you think there might be potential drawbacks of introducing the competence test? What do you think might be those potential ones?
I think of course, that is the nature of all work. But to live to the expectation, we must accept to stand by some challenges and be able to tell through who is able and who is not able. But we know in all professions, not everyone who qualifies has capacity. But through the competence, you are able to know who fits where and who can do what. You know, in Uganda, that's where you find a teacher becoming a head teacher, becoming a DOS, and yet the system does not mold him to be so. But through testing the competence of someone, you are able to check the intellect, and that's where we define the capacity of someone to handle what and what. So competence is ideal, for better performance and proper allocation of the staff.
Okay. So here we see that there are some penalties, including a 4-year jail sentence and substantial fines for non-compliance. Yes, they are non-compliance. And other proposed penalties for teaching without a degree or license proportional to the offenses, really?
I think we are also contesting this. And officially we shall make our submission to the Education Committee in Parliament on all this. Our Secretariat is trying to figure through, and we see how we can give a responsible feedback that is constructive to the bill, because we need it, but we need to rectify some anomalies. Now, as far as the issue you are talking about, I think somewhere, somehow, you need to throw more light on the direction you are giving as far as that is concerned.
Because, okay, in the bill, there are some penalties whereby if a teacher does not have a degree or a license, you are even subjected to a 4-year jail term. For instance, if you practice without that. So what do you think? Do you think that these penalties are fair?
Picking it from that, I think it is not fair. The punishment is much more heavier than what is the crime expected to be committed as far as that is concerned. Because even if a teacher is to pay, I don't know how many years of salary you have to add up in order to be able to meet that penalty.
Yes.
That penalty. And a sentence of 4 years because of a license, and which we know very well that it might not even add up to some areas of Uganda, as I had earlier said. For example, when you go to Karamoja, even there are so many other areas where we see the challenges. At one time, the president said, if we fail to get a necessary number of teachers to take on the teaching in primary, we shall recruit the senior 2 and the senior 3 leavers, meaning it can work.
Yes.
We have seen many people in the profession managing, teaching, learning, even more than those who are profession.
Yes.
So ideally, I think there must be some relaxation at one point and a reduction on the kind of punishment given. However, I don't want to sound as if we were promoting unprofessional people in the management of teaching, learning.
Yes.
Ideally, teaching must be by those competent people.
Yes, indeed.
However, we must scale down the punishments and also define to what extent such a punishment can be given and what circumstances, because there are circumstances where such a kind of things don't work. You go to the camps with the displaced people where learning is taking place, people are yearning to get teachers, they cannot get them. Yes, you'll find there are volunteers who volunteer to teach learners, and these are hard to work areas where not every qualified person can take time to go and sleep in caves, sleep in tents and all that. So it should be more enriched than what it is, and the penalties should be fair.
They should be. Should we say lessened?
Yeah, because there is no struggling. There is no someone who does not have a license, but is offering himself to support somewhere where his services or her services are needed. Now, when you put such a restriction, given the country like Uganda, where today as we speak, you have insufficient numbers of teachers.
Exactly.
Even Makerere recently produced like 3,000 instead of 30 that usually are produced. So meaning that we have a scarcity and we still have a bigger ratio of teacher-learner, which need to be covered up. So such a challenges might continue. In this, guys, when you are coming up with the bill, you must know that such nitty-gritties will appear somewhere, somehow. So you try to relax and reduce on the penalties and define them to what extent where can they be applicable and where can't they be applicable.
Now we are saying that for someone to become a teacher, you need a degree for it. But now there are people who, you know, cannot even afford, like you just said. There are those people that they're even willing to take senior 2s and senior 3 students to become teachers. So what measures do you think could be taken for people who have such financial constraints?
The old system, especially in teaching, you know, teaching was built on a foundation of the informal setup of our society, where the older was a teacher for every young and all that. Now for the qualifications, the old system was allowing
Yes.
families which are not well off, even students who could go and part-time in working and support themselves and grow in the profession gradually, which was also healthy. We were not happy with the removal of the grades, because the grades could bring up someone through a system, and you'll find most of the time the experience was really much more needed than a new product, a graduate. But of course, the sector has to grow.
Yes.
It has to grow. But the question today is it necessary for a nursery teacher to have a degree, or if to have a degree, to go through a duration of 4 years, compared to primary and the secondary, and even those people at the higher institutions of learning. So that is causing a lot of anxiety in the fraternity. So we think we should look out for it. But also, the other aspect, as I said, is going to eliminate many.
Yes.
For example, nursery teaching is mostly occupied by female teachers.
Yes.
When you create a long cycle of such a person who is desperate financially, that means you are going to close doors for many who would come in. Yes. A nursery teacher really going through 6 years of secondary, 4 years, those are 10 years.
Yes.
And is financially incapacitated. What do you think? It is dropping out of the system. So we see a very big challenge now of having a deficiency of teachers at the first level of education in Uganda because of that creation, which government seems not to be detecting.
Yes. Okay, well, we are here analyzing the proposed National Teachers Bill 2024. We are going to go for a short commercial break, but stay tuned, do not leave. We'll be right back.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Welcome back to Issues at Hand. We are here discussing and analyzing the proposed National Teachers Bill 2024. I am here with Mr. Kirabira Hasadu. So we are continuing to dive into this conversation that mostly the education sector should actually take time to listen to. And so now I want to talk about also the inclusion of the non-Ugandan teachers. We have teachers that are not Ugandan, of course. And we just want to see what criteria should be used to ensure that the non-Ugandan teachers meet the required standards.
The bill proposes the intervention of the National Council for Higher Education because it deals with quantifying all the qualifications. And of course, even if someone, for example, if we go to qualifications, you qualified from outside, you studied from abroad, you got your degree or diploma or A-level, what would be equivalent to A-level from somewhere, it is quantified.
Yes.
But also, people from outside coming into Uganda, it is also through the same process. Okay. And the council also have a docket that deals with that from the point of the National Council for Higher Education to a point of coming into the proposed council that is going to scrutinize the registration and the licensing. But for education, ideally, we need external facilitation and external support. Okay. Because as you know, most of our cream teachers have left outside because of poor pay.
Yes.
Now, when we get some people from outside who can manage, who are at that level, or have made some research and they are perfect, in education it is highly welcomed. It is a matter of scrutinizing them because we don't have enough manpower today as we speak in Uganda.
Yes.
We are looking forward, we are starving. when you hear people talking about science teachers versus this, we have a bigger deficiency. Yes, much as there is marginalization, but we have a deficiency in some levels of education as far as the sector is concerned. So having external support would also be ideal because we are not enough. Yes.
But do you think that bringing international teachers will kind of derail the local, the local employment opportunities?
I would say internationally it is allowed and it is healthy for the growth of the system and benchmarking. But in the absence of the local, and as we are appreciating the processes here, we are yet to experience more challenges as a country if government is not careful.
Yes.
Yes, the gap is going to widen, and we shall end up getting the Bachubas to come and bridge the gaps. So it would not be so good if we had enough manpower. But according to the way Uganda is today, I think we need. But it's not all such people from outside can manage the conditions of work here in Uganda, especially when it comes to salary. How many schools here can employ
international teachers?
International teachers.
Yes.
However, it reminds me also of the international schools. International school teachers, they are also compelled by this bill to work by the means and guidance of the bill and the council that was created, the National Teachers Council. Yes. Okay,
so now we want to look at the institutional compliance, So we want to see what mechanisms can be put in place to ensure that educational institutions actually comply with the new regulations.
It takes some time to have schools comply, and it takes the ministry also some time to sensitize people, guide them, and see all these innovations being practiced. One of the things we are experiencing in Uganda, even if we perfect this bill when it is an act and it is under the normal regularization of the policy and the practice, Still, implementation. The challenge here in Uganda is planning and implementation.
Yes.
That's where we fail.
Yes.
Even when you have a good plan, the implementation has not always been good. You can boil a leaf from the new curriculum, the way it was implemented. Teachers from the class go to the workshops, come and teach. Even up to today, there are people who don't know even what to do. We receive new teachers who don't know totally what to do. UNEB is here with its own things. The curriculum, NCDC is also there with its own programs, you know, that kind of thing. But for the schools, it takes an understanding and clear guidance and enforcement. Because we know even good things, if not well enforced, they might not work out. But the challenge with the ministry, with the inspectorate, standards and quality assurance department, they don't have enough support. Most of the time, even when we need them ourselves to do this work with us, and we see that we are able to support the schools to change and grow. Sometimes when they come because they are late, they only want to close schools. That's true. But they build up to see that the schools comply, what we call support, inspection, support. So we don't see it. So in all this, we need enough sensitization. Even as we speak, not every teacher knows even what is going on. Yes. But when you start practicing, that's when you see challenges. People start complaining here, we cannot manage this. People start running away in an unplanned way. So we think the ministry should take the honor to make sure all stakeholders are quite aware of this, to make sure all the proprietors of the schools, they are very keen in all this, because they also have their own intents and directives as far as schools are concerned. Understanding the objectives of the education is also more paramount as for all these new innovations to take root. So for the schools, it is about the ministry. Yes. How to connect with them, how to sensitize and involve the DOs, how to support the program and provide the necessary information as far as all this is concerned. Okay. So I also want to talk about the renewal of practicing licenses. What are the implications of the proposed licenses according to the bill and the renewal process on teachers? We see a delay in all what is going to be done if there is no enough decentralization. To the teachers, I would say professionally, renewing and licensing would be okay. Yes. So that someone does not get a permanent lease. Because previously, the moment you were registered, you come with your certificates from the college, you take them to the ministry, they approve them through our normal system, and then they issue with a registration certificate. You are registered as a teacher. The moment you are registered, then you are allowed to go in school and teach. Yes. Okay? Now, the addition is that after being registered and confirmed as a teacher now, you are now licensed to operate. Yes. The licensing means you are taken through the nitty-gritties of you being a teacher. And if you are aware that if I breach this, if I do contrary, of course, I'm held by the council. Yes. But also the council has limits, because the council is not a court. Okay. Yes, it can preside over some things, but there are others which it can't preside over, which have to be subjected now to the courts of law. Yes. So now, through that system, we think we can firmly be able to say that the council has to do its work of licensing and registering, and then we look at this periodical payment or renewal of the license. That's now what impacts on the teacher. So do you feel like that will minimize the disruptions for the teachers and education institutions? I think so. Someone would say in a period of 4 years, someone to be able to provide the one, but it would be government to support the teachers stay in the school. Yes. It would be the government to top up, because the teachers, for example, in the private sector, they are doing a noble job of doing what government would do. How many schools would government build pay salaries of how many teachers, infrastructure and all of that.
Yes.
So when the sector comes in, we are entering into a marriage, or we are already in the marriage with government. In the marriage, everyone has a role to play. What is the role of government now? The role of the government is only to assess and provide the curriculum, but does not participate in the facilitation of the teams that implement the curriculum. Those are the teachers. Yeah. Now, with people you don't pay, when you come up with the taxes that infringe on their payment, now we see you as sabotaging your own sector. So we think we should do away with the program of teachers paying for the licenses. Yes. And we instead allow the periodical renewal after a given period of time in order to emphasize and bring the teacher to attention of the service he or she is undertaking.
Okay, we are seeing a reduction of the number of teachers in school. We are seeing that some of them are actually leaving the teaching profession. Could you say it is because of the licensing, the maybe say high amount of the licenses, or maybe what they are being paid? What would you think would be the reason?
I think previously we had a different perception on the teaching. People say we are proud, we are teachers, but behind the scenes, the support, the problem is the finance, the financing of the education sector, the prioritization of the sector. Yes. This cuts across in private and also government. The difference in private, if I know this is a good teacher, you'll find all means to support that teacher in order to retain. That's true. And now when you go to, even today as I speak, there are teachers who are requesting for early retirement in most of the government schools. They are requesting to be retired early. You see, before the time for retirement. What does that mean? Meager resources, less payment. Someone has a lot of issues. You see the country, the trend, the standard of living, the cost is high. Now, in the midst of all this, you are getting a fixed salary, and this is a person who can't do any other job. Even me, a director of a school, we who are serious educationists, directors but teachers, you'll find I'm occupied by the school from 4 to 10 p.m. throughout. Now, what about a teacher, classroom teacher who is compelled to thinking about, they cannot do any side business. Now, when you think of a meager salary, most of the time people opt out to go and do other education-related jobs in other sectors that are supportive. And that's the challenge we are talking about. That's why you see teachers are going to Nkuba Cheyo, they are moving outside into other kind of jobs.
Okay. That's quite challenging for the teachers, right?
Indeed.
So what steps do you think should be taken to ensure the implementation of stakeholder engagement in the development of implementation of the bill?
The world over today tags the transformation of sectors on the private sector. And when you go to many countries like Germany, you go to Mauritius, go to Singapore, most of these have understood the relevance of stakeholders and the engagement, and have tagged their development on them. And they have even financially supported the growth of all these sectors. Go to ICT in Mauritius, go to Germany in skills program, you'll find a different approach compared to what we see here in Uganda. You'll find that such things, as they are coming, we, the practitioners, are not much more involved at the earlier stages. Yes. And the result is now coming up with redundant bills which cannot practically be operationalized as far as the sectors are concerned. Yes. So we think the way to go, government should come into an understanding that they need the sector actors because they have also invested in the industry. Yes. When you exonerate them, you are suffocating good ideas, and you are sabotaging the industry. In even East Africa, even when you go to Kenya, for example, in the education sector, the president every year meets the stakeholders once and is able to dine with them, is able to discuss with them challenges,
Yes.
is able to receive new proposals, plus their ministry, which is not a case here.
Yeah.
The case here is basically bedridden on the business sector. But also schools are a business because we pay tax. In trillions, we pay taxes. We employ. The value chain is big.
Yeah.
People from the textile, those who supply us with the food, the human labor we are employing is almost equivalent to the civil servants we have in Uganda. So you can't underrate such ideas. We think government should style up. The Ministry of Education should consider much more engagement of the stakeholders
Yes.
than it has done before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we see that, okay, now, what do you think, how can potential challenges and resistance from existing teachers and institutions be effectively managed?
What we need to do is to prioritize the sector.
Yes.
When you prioritize the sector, you get into an understanding of how you can support their growth, because their growth in mind, in management, improves the growth of the country.
Yes.
The products of the country in all ways and all sectors is entirely dependent on the ability of the teacher.
Yes.
Now, but how much input do you put in as government? Prioritizing means put in more money.
Yes.
Improve the budget of teachers. Remuneration means retention. Retention means quality. Quality comes from curriculum.
Yes.
Curriculum without books, without understanding, phases away education. Create comfortability in the teachers so that they're able to sit on the job and work on the job. Even if you bring cameras, you bring mechanisms, still teachers will not find a reason to sit in schools.
Yes.
They will instead run around and do all the jobs to be able to enable their families to survive. So I think when we prioritize the sector, we shall improve the welfare of the teachers, and they will feel comfortable that, you know, we are earning. When you bring discrepancies, the dichotomy today we see in the sector,
Yes.
you say the sciences are going to get 4 million,
Yes.
the arts are going to get less than that.
Exactly.
That dichotomy is still separating the industry.
Yeah.
Now you'll find that most of the people will run away. And it's not true that some people are doing much more than others. You see the gaps.
Yes.
And you'll find that even the people who are paid to supervise, the one who are getting 4 million, are getting less. You'll find the commissioner gets 2 million.
Yeah.
But the person who is supervising gets 4. Now, what does this mean? Who is supervising who? Who is ahead of who? Now, you will not find the ministry acting accordingly. Okay? So, you gave these people to comfort them so that they work well. Now, let them work well.
Yes.
So, the syndicate does not show growth and also equality in what we are doing. For example, the president is a product of arts.
Yes.
The judge is the product of arts. You'll find even the parliament itself. So really prioritizing on the sciences also, when we avoid such, I think we shall allow uniform growth
Yes.
of the sector.
So finally, I would want to ask you, do you feel like this proposed bill is favoring the teachers, or do you feel like, something is amiss? More implementations should be made.
To a greater extent, it might not serve the need, it might not favor the sector. We are looking at the sector and the sector actors.
Yes.
In all means, it would be a good bill that would yield the good results for the growth of our sector and education objectives. But when we look at the processes, the course it has taken, it doesn't give indicators that it will give us a good results.
Yes.
If it was, we would wait and consider the Amanya Mushega Commission.
Yes.
Okay? Because the Amanya Commission was constituted to touch through the needs for improvement. Now, when you start bringing in policies and bills, before the Amanya Commission in the Ministry of Education, that was constituted by the President, concludes its program as it was mandated,
Yes.
then we are seeing a lacuna a confusion, double standards.
Yes.
Now, suppose tomorrow Damanya recommends otherwise.
That's true.
And all of this now is coming from the 1992, okay, white paper, government white paper. And 92 is far away from today.
Yes.
You see? Now, the review commission is reviewing all what was supposed to be implemented as of those recommendations. The new curriculum is also a product of the 1992 commission.
Yes.
Now, if the Amenya has been constituted to look through and touch through the entire sector, and it is still ongoing, then you bring in these bills, are you not causing confusion?
Yes.
Now, in the midst of all that, we think some of the things we are talking about must seriously be looked at if we are to effectively come up with a good bill that is going to support the growth. We need it. We need it. But the processes through which we are able to get it are not so clear to us as educationists.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Kirabira Hasadu. Well, you heard it from the man himself, the chairman of NAPEA. Is it the correct pronunciation?
NAPEA.
Yes, the chairman of NAPEA. We were analyzing the proposed Teachers National Bill 2024, and it has a little bit of things that are making our teachers uncomfortable. And I think some things should be really implemented to see that it favors the teachers in our education sector, to see that we all grow, that the sector also grows, and that it will also favor us in the process. Well, here you heard it, issues at hand. I am Hope Nyongereza, and we have come to the end of the show. I'm just going to say bye-bye and wish you a blessed day.
The views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of this television or its management, but as of individuals as we hear them. Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.